at the topic faith that walk through love or faith that walk by love. A lot of people wrote to me in the course of the last 24 hours. Many of them are pastors. These are guys that I'd known perhaps over 15 years. Some of them I went to the university with them. Some of them I met them in Bible college, and some in the course of being a pastor myself, we became friends, acquaintances. I got invited to minister in their churches, or they got invited to minister in mine. In the language of today's people, we would say that we were all in the trenches together at one point or the other. And we all knew the struggle that being young ministers of the gospel that we faced. We are all men of faith and women of faith. Basically, you cannot be a minister of the gospel without at least having faith. You know that we're all given the same measure of faith. And so no believer really can claim to not have faith. However, having studied the faith movement within the body of Christ for some time, and I've seen the wonders that they were able to produce in their walk with God. Having studied the grace movement, the holiness movement, the cessationists, having looked at what each of them, what they produced, it is important that we understand what faith really is. It is true that faith is defined as a substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. But that is like defining a wife as somebody that wears white or pink with a veil and stand in front of the pastor in the church on a Saturday or a Thursday morning while the music being played is Here Comes the Bride, and leaving out every other factors that makes her a bride. The definition of faith, when you look at it outside, without all the other factors that makes it work, it's like defining a car. And you didn't talk about either it's electric, hybrid, or maybe using diesel or petrol. But you just say a car is a machine that has four wheels and used for transportation. That is basically what that would look like. But that would not be faith that works. That would be faith. Faith then can be a thing that may not work, even though you have it. That is the point. You can have faith, you may have faith, and yet your faith might not work if you do not put every other things that are supposed to work with faith and make faith work together. So when a man says, I have faith, in Christianity, it is not just like, I believe I can get something, so I will get it. As many people assume and as many people thought. And so if you set your heart to pray and then you hold on to God, then you will have it. That's basically used to be how faith was taught. And that will be quite tricky because the people that sent the messages that I said earlier, they are all men and women of faith. Many of us here who have seen our faith not produce results, we cannot say we don't have faith. The substance of faith has a lot of other factors that as a young believer, you should put into consideration. The most important aspect of faith, the most important ingredient that puts faith to work is love. Love that is demonstrated that is palpable, that is evident, that is real. Let me remind you of something that came to my mind just now. There was this man that I read this story, a missionary in the UK years ago. He had an orphanage, and a lot of children are in the orphanage, and oftentimes they wouldn't have food to eat. And this man does not like to beg, even though people would sometimes contribute a nickel or a pound or two. It was never enough for the orphanage. So this man would go on his knees and he would pray. But when praying, he wouldn't think of himself. His heart was always about the children. What would they eat? How would they go to school? It was his love. He loved the children. He didn't want to see the children under his care suffer. So because he loved the children so much and he didn't want to see them cry or suffer, he would turn to God, believing that God will provide. That is faith. But the basic here was not that it was just having faith so that it can receive stuff. It was having faith so that by faith, it can be a channel of blessing, that those children may not be hungry. You see how easy that is? That I believe that these children will not be hungry. If he could have sat down and said, God should take care of them and forget about it, then he would not be demonstrating faith. He could have loved the children and he would tell himself, I love these children. Hey, what can I do to give you food now? How can I help you with your food? These children are hungry. He could have been complaining. He could have been mourning, and he wouldn't demonstrate faith, and the children will remain hungry. And even when help will come, he wouldn't be able to ascribe the help to God. But this man would take the burden of the children's food. So when they were sleeping at night, knowing that there must be breakfast, he would wake up early, go on his knees and begin to talk to the Lord, blessing his name, asking that the Lord will stir the heart of men, the heart of women, the heart of young and old, that they will be stirred to bring resources to the orphanage, that the children must wake up to the smell of tea, of coffee, of ham, of bacon, of bread, of all sorts of varieties, that he wanted the children to be well fed. He would now demonstrate faith, but you would know that at the back door of that faith is genuine love. He wasn't having faith so that he can collect something. He was having faith that provision could be made to the children, for the children, through his prayer. And it was recorded, I think it's among God's generals, recorded in his story that there was no time he turned to God in prayer that his prayers were not answered, that kings were moved from all over the world. Rich people are moved. The Lord will stir their heart. Of all the orphanages in England, they will bring the best to his orphanage. I remember reading the man's story for the first time and telling myself that many people will miss the point here. They will call this man a man of prayer. They will say, this is, but the man's prayers were motivated by love. It wasn't just, give me, I want clothes, I want shoes. No, he had people to cater for. Many of us don't know that. When you build your own castle and you're only thinking of yourself, you now see your faith is not working. A faith that is of no use to the propagation of the gospel, the faith that is only demonstrated in the material things you need, or that you need health or you need help, a faith that is selfish in all its desire. How can then you compare that kind of faith with my own kind of faith, or with the kind of faith that Jesus has? The faith of Jesus was never based on his own needs, always based on the propagation of the kingdom of the Father, based on his love for humanity, based on his desire to give God. That is what the Bible said in the book of Revelation chapter 5, to give unto God a nation, to purchase a nation for God. It was after he had purchased the nation and presented it that was given a name that is above every other name. The Bible said he didn't do it for his own glory, because he had glory already. It wasn't like, I'm a slave. If I could win this contest, I will now become, some of you may not know, But the history of the Olympics game started with one guy on Greece who had a daughter, beautiful daughter, and was billionaire, had so much money. And when his daughter was about to get married, she couldn't get a husband. Nobody came to ask for a hand in marriage. Nobody came to say, and he loved his daughter, and he wanted the girl to get married. So the man started a competition. The man said, I'm going to give 1 million Greek money to the person that wins this marathon race. That all the young men that are strong, agile, and vibrant should come around, and that they should come and run. That the person that wins the race will win 1 million Greek money, and then will marry his daughter. The young men that came for the race realized then that the man wasn't trying to marry his daughter off to a rich man, but that he really wanted somebody that will go all the way, that will suffer all the way, that will go through the marathon and know the pain of marrying his daughter. That, see, if you can go through this marathon, you can go to marriage. Marriage is also a marathon. You can marry my daughter and I will give you enough money so that you guys won't lack anything. Guys from all over the world heard the news and they came. They traveled by boat, by sea. They were motivated by the money. And then, okay, the prospect of winning a bride. So this man set it up so well. It's not about that you come as a young man, your eyes is on the money. At the same time, you are strong enough, you will go through the pain. But their primary motivation was just marry the girl, gain the money. There's something to lose except a few hours of pain going through a marathon. Ladies and gentlemen, the marathon was done. You can go check this in history, because I remember reading it in UI Library several years ago. After the marathon, the man that won the marathon was already married. You see, he was unmotivated. He was unmotivated by marriage. He was motivated by the money. And he shouldn't have even qualified for that race, because this man wanted to marry a bride, to marry his daughter out to the winner. And you know you don't qualify. But you see, some of us, that's exactly our situation. We are not motivated. God has offered a lot of good things. The only thing that motivates us has always been our own selfish desire. This man came into the race, even though he was already married, he couldn't marry this rich man's daughter. And yet he won the race. And after winning the race, I said, oh, yes, I've won the race. Give me the money. He said, you are going to take the bride. I said, no, it's only the money I want. I said, oh, that is not the condition. Oh, no. Yeah. It was just for his own self. He just saw a way to make money, but wasn't willing to fulfill the entire terms and conditions. Exactly how many of us are. We have faith, but we are not motivated the right way. Our motivation has always been our own selfish end. We didn't consider that faith was given to us in order for us to be channels of blessing to our world. We didn't consider it. So while I was a struggling pastor, I thought that I loved. When I hear messages about faith, that faith through love, or faith that worked by love, I used to convince myself that, oh, I love, I really do, I care. But that my hand has been encumbered. God didn't release wealth to me. God didn't give me riches. God didn't. So I would always be complaining that, God, you can see my heart, that I love these people, especially my church members at the time. They were very poor and not so educated. Maybe most of us that are there had our first degree. That is the peak of our education in the church. The others were market women, this and that. So, and they were always in need. It was a welfare church. So every time I pray, I say, Lord, you can see my condition. This man is not working. This other woman is not doing fine. This one, there is no this. This one, school fees. This one, house rent. All of them will come to pastor. Lord, if you would bless me. If only you would enlarge my cost. If only you would do this. And I would pray and pray and pray. And there was no change. And you can know how frustrating it is when you pray like that with all seriousness, believing that you have the potential to have the money, and that you will not be selfish. That, Lord, I will not be selfish. I would help your people. I will groom your people. When that one did not work, you start a strategy. Okay, let us do empowerment. You let this one learn sewing, this one shoemaking, this one soap making, just so that they can have food on their table. If they are comfortable, they will come to church. They will do this. They will do that. I thought that was love. Oh no. That's not love. That's not love. Because I didn't really know what love was at the time. And the love I was demonstrating to people was as a result of duty. Was duty. I had a duty to them because I was the pastor. And I felt bad because I couldn't give them the maximum support that they needed to fulfill destiny. And it is God's fault, basically, because what else can a man do? I wouldn't go and steal, and their needs will always be there. I have my own family needs too. And so all of us were just like, in quotes, in the trenches, trying to help each other, pushing and all that, and it didn't work. When the Lord would then teach me what love is, it will be years later. I had given up on pastoring totally. I was working as a PA, and then the Lord said to me, I will be sending some people to you so that you can build up their faith. These are strangers. So people will just walk randomly into my office, and then they would need prayer because I was working in the church office. It's not unusual, but it's unusual because I'm not a pastor. I wasn't a pastor, and I'm still not a pastor. So, but they would rather want to speak with me than speak with the pastors. So they will come, and when they come, I will listen to them. After listening to them, I will pray with them. After praying with them, I do not see them as, because I wasn't the pastor, so I don't see any of them, I don't see myself as superior to any of them. When you're a pastor, there's a particular position that people put you where they will just be bowing their head, they will just be saying, They will be, the ladies will just be curtsying and kneeling down every 2 minutes. Even though you don't have, it wasn't as if you just basically because of your title, and they will just be, and you feel like, yeah, because you are their pastor, as if you know more, as if you know more than them, as if you have the answer to their questions, as if, so that thing is already there. And oftentimes when you are listening, when you are thinking, when you are listening, that thing is a filter. You always want to speak as if you are the one with the clarity, and that you are the one that is above, and that your word to them or your counsel to them is final, or at least close to final. But when I wasn't the pastor, there was nothing like that. Myself and somebody will sit down, we will trash out issues, we will fight. A stranger, he will say, I want to leave my husband. I'll say, why? The person will talk to me. I will sit down there, I will listen, and in my head, I'll be thinking, because the person doesn't see me as superior. The person sees me as, okay, somebody I can talk to, this is just a guy, you know. And so I will talk, we'll find a solution. Sometimes I will drive the person back home. Sometimes I'll wait at home at the person's house until I meet with the husband. Sometimes I'll drive to the husband's office to talk to the husband. I wasn't doing this as a pastor. I was doing this basically because the Lord told me that I will give you these puzzles, solve them. Most of the guys will call me by my name. That's why I always prefer to be called Gbenga, but Gbenga till now. Call me by my name. I saw that the level of interaction at that point was I cared, not not as a pastor to a sheep. I really cared. I wanted to see results. I wanted things to work. When I knew that when I'm at home, instead of worrying like I used to do before, I would just make confessions about people's marriages, about people's homes, about people's health. I would go to the hospitals. I would sit with people in the hospital. As a pastor, you don't have all the time to do that because of all the commitment. I wasn't a pastor. I had the time to neglect the 99 or to put the 99 aside and chase one and chase it until I get answers. I would do it. Then I realized that, oh my God, results were coming. Why? The faith had been activated by sincerity and by love, by the fact that there was no burden of duty. It was just care. It was just natural. It was just flowing out of me, out of my belly. It wasn't as a result of, they will say their pastor is not doing well. They will go to another church. All that concern that literally bogged down pastors was not there for me anymore. I could basically express the fullness of the love of Christ without having to think that I'm doing it because of my position or my duty. Then people will tell people, so people will call me on the phone. I will call people with my own money. I will speak to them for hours. Miracles will happen over the phone. And of course, sometimes people will send me credit. Then I will have so much credit. I will still be telling people, do you want to make a call? I have too much credit on my phone. And when the Lord saw that I had gained mastery of that level of interaction, I've come to know people. I've come not to judge people by, oh, you painted your nails. Oh, you wear lipstick. Oh, did you see her hairstyle? Oh, you cheated on your husband. Oh, you gave your husband somebody else's child. Oh, all those things that as a pastor, I will hang my head. I would have judged ahead of the conversation. I'll be thinking, does she have any brain? How can any woman do this to a man? That position I would have taken. I stopped taking it. Basically because I told myself at the time, if God is bringing them and wants me to help, then I'm not their pastor. So I will do my best. I will speak to them freely and I'll be candid. And where we have to cry together, we will cry. Where we have to laugh, sometimes I'll take them out for lunch. We'll sit down across the table, eat, talk, and they would go back and they would tell other people, my God, when I spoke with JSW, this was the solution, this has worked, and they will be the one they will call. It was not stressful anymore. Suddenly the faith started producing results. When I was a pastor, I had faith. And I wasn't a pastor anymore. And I decided to see people as equals, paying attention to their needs, taking it to the Lord. I found the expression of love easy. I began to know how to end people. When people are telling me something, I will have seen the end of the conversation before the beginning. As they begin to speak, my heart was open. My consciousness was open. I was willing to be a blessing. And then when they are going home, I put them in transportation. If they have to pay hospital bills, I will look for the money, I will pay. And then the blessing started coming. It was not so that I could consume it all on myself. I just noticed that at every point, there was no matter the number of people that God brings to me, there was always enough to take care of their needs, to be a channel of blessing to them. And because they saw the sincerity of the relationship we had, it wasn't difficult for them at all to say to me, Pastor, the other time you did this, you did that, my heart has been there to be a blessing to you. It was no longer difficult. It was no longer difficult to send somebody to them and say, oh, this person needs employment. Do you have a space in your office? And when I was a pastor, I couldn't even get, not just members of apostle, people will come looking for a job. You have to begin to rack your brain, but not anymore. You begin to realize that the expression of your faith is love. And when that love is not there, your faith is going to be stagnant. But the love is genuine and real. If the love would be true, it would trigger faith to move. For God so loved the world that he gave It was love that prompted God to give Jesus to us in faith. The other prophets that came before Christ, some of them came out of duty. Some of them came to warn. Some of them came to turn our hearts back to the Father. But the one that was given to us as a sacrifice for our sins was given as a result of faith. God demonstrated faith in the world, in us, by giving us Jesus. A given faith is a faith that works by love. A faith motivated by desire to make the life of others better is a faith that is motivated by love. A faith that has a scope broader than itself. Somebody wrote to me this morning, said, man doesn't need anything except food, water, a bed, and just some money in the bank. And when I read it, I felt sorry for the person. It shows that a man, that the person has been so conditioned to only think of himself as the be-all and end-all of everything. If you have 7 billion people in your tummy, you would realize that you need more than a house and a shoe and food. You realize that you have a desire in your heart to give 7 billion people heaven on earth. And that will motivate you to continue to strive, not so that when you get to 100, you say, I'm enough. No, to continue to strive until you bring all souls to a place of dignity, to a place of love, to a place of experiencing the fullness of the glory of God. If your faith is not working, check your love, check your motivation. If you are stuck in a place, I've seen debts cancelled, and some people are still languishing. I've seen somebody that has a debt of 15 million naira cancelled just through one contact. I've seen the person go, and because he didn't learn the demonstration of faith and what it does, went to incur more debts. I came back again thinking that all you have to do is, let me move that. It will just move a magic wand. And when it does that, who's that? Can you mute Sister Vivian? Thank you. But when he does that, I'll be made whole again. And then that person is going to remain there for a long time, because the faith that produced result for him was not his faith, it was somebody else's faith. That was why he abused it. If your faith produces result by love, you would never stop loving, you will never stop caring, because you know that without love, your faith will not produce results. So you have come to mix the elements together. So many people will say, Pastor, pay for me, Pastor, pay for me. They are not motivated by love, they're just motivated by need. And so the pastor who has learned to demonstrate faith that works by love will pray for them, they will get a result. And then next time they want to do the same thing, they will not get a result. But that pastor would have results consistently because he had learned to trigger faith by love. This morning, you must deliberately step out of yourself. Step it out of it, like, oh, this debt is killing me. House rent, shoe, food, and so it gives us a tunnel vision, so that our eyes are only focused on us, and as a result of that, we want to hold on to God. Bless me, do this, and as a result of that, we don't think of others and their need. We are not even seeing it, and our faith then do not produce the right result. Even now, in that position where you are, where it seems you don't have everything, that you are struggling with this, you are struggling with that, you still have love. You still have faith. All you have to do is put it together and you begin to see results. As you go to our churches this morning, I declare that your faith is producing results by love. They are not motivated by the desire to criticize, to fight, to look at the fault of the pastor, church members, to gossip, or to just dress and look fine and make all eyes turn on you in church and all that. That you are motivated beyond that to produce in others the reality of Christ and the glory of the kingdom. I declare that it is well with you and that the miraculous is at work in you. God bless you. I'll see you guys next week. If you have been blessed by this class, I'd like you to shout glory.
Glory!
Glory!
Bless you.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.